So this is a Windows 7 environment. Actually, it's Windows 7 Starter that came with this netbook that I'm playing with here. I'm going to blow it away and put Fedora on it, but before I do that, what I wanted to do was just take a look at what current device management features exist in Windows so that we can see what we can learn about this in Linux. So on this Windows system, Windows 7 system here, if you click on the Start or the Windows icon here and just click on Devices and Printers, the control panel these days is sort of structured like a website where you kind of have this recursive descension down through the different kinds of configuration options. Anyway, you can see here the PC that I have. I can see that the make is an Asus computer, and it's a notebook computer, etc. The model number and so forth. I could double click on the computer device here, and then I get the properties for this system. I can go into hardware here, and I can take a look at all the different devices in this system. So I have one kind of high-level view. I can see the manufacturer, the status for each of the devices. So I can go down here to the Intel graphics adapter. Let's find that one. Intel graphics media accelerator. You see it's working correctly. I can click on properties. I can see the device type, who made it, where the device lives. I can see the driver. I can click driver details to see the driver files used by this and the version of those. So this is kind of like your modinfo command, but it's graphical. And I can get details here. I can see various properties associated with this driver. For example, I can come down here. I can look at the provider, is Intel Corporation. I can look at its priority compared to perhaps other drivers. Things of that nature, which is very nice. So it's kind of free-form properties of the type we've discussed having in Linux. We have Intel Corporation, the driver date, the version, who signed it, and so forth. And then various grayed out options here, which become enabled the moment we click on Change Settings. Then we get the same window up again, but now we can change them. I guess that's a simple attempt to avoid accidental changes. So we can again go into driver details. We can go into update driver, and we can either browse the computer. So we have driver update disks in Fedora and in RHEL, but this is just a graphical kind of configuration for that kind of thing. So you can browse to where the driver is located. You could also pick a list of drivers that are already found on your system. You can do that, or you can say you have a disk, which is nice. So let's go back into that update driver. So again, we can browse through the system, we can find them, or we can say that we have a disk. Conversely, we also have the online update system here, which goes out to Microsoft's provided service and looks to see which driver is most appropriate, and makes a recommendation. And it says that it's determined that this driver is the most appropriate for this system right now. So that's the kind of thing. Again, we've discussed doing this in Linux, using various priorities of drivers and things like that. It's nice to see it, in other operating systems. We can go into resources for this device. We can see what I/O resources it's currently using, DMA, IRQs, things like that. Whether there are any conflicting settings. So again, Windows gives you this very fine-grained binding between one driver and one device. It's not, it's not kind of, the UDEV system where the first driver that matches wins. It's very specific bindings between this driver associates with this device, and it means that you might have two different graphics cards, let's say, from the same manufacturer, and you might have a different driver bound to each one. That's possible to do in Linux if you turn off auto binding, but it's not something that we do by default. So again, you can do this view here, or another option is if you kind of are a more advanced user, I guess, or something like that, you can go into the control panel, which these days is kind of like a web-like experience. You can go to this hardware and sound section, and you can see here devices and printers at the top, your autoplay settings, your sound, your power settings, your display settings, and various settings provided by third party here the Realtek HD Audio Manager or something. So I can go into devices and printers. And that's where I was before. But also at this higher level here, I could say add device, and then Windows will keep looking for devices. For example, at the moment here, it's just listing Bluetooth devices, but one assumes that if it starts seeing random USB devices or something it doesn't recognize, it will list them here. So that's nice. You can also add a printer. I assume that's similar. And you can bring up the Legacy Device Manager, which is still very feature powerful. We have, the HOWL browser in Linux. This basically here gives us the name of the PC, test PC. You can see the devices like the batteries. You can go into each device here. You can see the type, the manufacturer, the location. So it's on the PCI bus. Is it working correctly? Yes. The driver's from 2006. There's a version, it's been signed by Microsoft, and again, the same settings I had before. I can also look at various arbitrary properties for it. So that's very similar to ModInfo, but I think it's a nicer presentation. And I can go down through the system. I can bring up the various properties for the different devices in the system. I can also switch to view devices by connection. So I can look at ACPI x86-based PC. And then Microsoft ACPI compliant system. You can see the ACPI devices here, and UM bus, root bus enumerator, whatever other devices there by connection type. I can also see resources by type, so I can see my DMA controller here. What the system has, the I/O ranges that are used by various things. Again, we provide these in Linux, but we don't expose them graphically like this. Actually, the HOWL browser might do this, so I want to compare what's available today. So here we have, the various I/O ranges. We also have the interrupt, the IRQ settings, the ISER, PCI, and so forth. We can expose platform devices as well in this way. Memory ranges here, and what they represent. Again, we have that information in SysFS, but we don't necessarily expose it as conveniently. Resources by connection. It's kind of a similar, it's a similar view. So this is quite feature rich, I think, and convenient for users. They can also click scan for hardware changes or update driver software. So again, it has a link to go out there and fetch updated software for those drivers, which is very, very convenient. And so one could imagine, browsing through hardware on a Linux system and clicking on the update the driver link, and having us go and fetch the drivers automatically, and then using a UI like this to manage the bindings. So that's convenient. And again, from the user point of view, I think they have a lot of control over which devices are bound to what. So yeah, I'm actually still fairly impressed with that particular feature. I'm not overall impressed with Windows 7. I find it very bloated. And it typically lots of antivirus and malware scanners and all this stuff that junk up the system. But in terms of the particular experience for managing devices and drivers, I still think that Windows and Mac are ahead of where we are, and we have some catching up to do in terms of the UIs and the presentation and the control of features we have in Linux already that we just need to expose to our users.